All right. This is NexxLegacy Radio. I am Brandon here with a beautiful guest. I am grateful to talk to this young lady so we can kind of discuss all the things she has going on and just a lot of things that I want to share with her as far as my thoughts on women empowerment, just having an opportunity to be able to just share some good information in terms of growth in professions and just overall just to kind of get to know this young lady as well. And one thing that I appreciate when I got some information on her and looked through what she has going on, I just feel like we need to promote and celebrate the empowerment of not just this young lady, but everything that kind of encompasses good, powerful, good vibes, good opportunities to be able to share the wealth in a sense when it comes to just overall just growth and development. And this young lady, founder of Female Eye Film Festival, can share a lot of good details and things like that. So I want to welcome Leslie Ann Coles to NexxLegacy Radio. How are you doing, young lady?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So right out of the gate, you have something going on from June 9th to the 12th, and I want people out there, not just from where you're at, but all across the world to know exactly what you have going on. So tell me and tell us a little bit more about this Female Eye Film Festival.
Sure. So the Female Eye Film Festival is celebrating its 20th edition at Bell Lightbox, June 9th to the 12th, and we show films directed by women. And the festival was founded in 2001. We missed a year in 2004. We were doing outreach. But it grew out of my experience as an independent filmmaker when I noticed there weren't a lot of women directors at these international film festivals. So it raised a question for me, and it was, are there so few women directors, or are our films not getting programmed? So we held an event in Toronto, showed 42 films, and though if someone had asked me or said to me, oh, you're going to be the executive director, artistic director of an international competitive women's film festival, I would have laughed at them and said, I don't know anything about that. So I became...
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I should add, our festival is not at the exclusion of men. We have a script development program for screenwriters, and it is open to men. It's always been open to men. I didn't want the festival to be like a girls' club where we don't have male attendees. We have a huge male following at the Female Eye audience and a lot of industry guests who come out and meet with our they meet with our directors and all of that stuff. So yeah, it's a really cool event. It's very inclusive, and we've also always represented diversity and inclusion, and that's just been part of what we've been doing for like 20 years. So I think we were a little bit ahead of the game.
Well, I can appreciate that. And someone who hasn't attended yet, I would love to make sure that there's a trip in my future to be able to do that. And I look at it like this.
Sure.
And I appreciate you saying that men are included to share as well. And I feel like, from a male's perspective, we can always learn a lot from a woman in terms of a lot of different avenues about life and professional business as well and things like that. So my question to you is, 20 years you've been doing this. And there's a level of consistency in terms of making sure you do get the word out as we do spotlight women. What has been some of the biggest highlights during your journey in terms of putting together these festivals and just being able to kind of showcase women talent?
Well, there's so many, but I think two that I'm most proud of. In 2009, I launched a young filmmaker development workshop, and we started mentoring young girls prior to their graduation from high school to sort of encourage them to entertain the idea of media studies or filmmaking. So we went into a high school and we mentored young girls in the media arts and mentored them on the production of their first short film, and then we showed them at the festival. And then we reached into disadvantaged youth. So I worked with 26 Indigenous Canadian youth. We went north to far-off places in the Northern Territories here in Canada and worked with girls on reserves in Northern Ontario and mentored them on the production of their first short films. And then we premiered those at the Female Eye. So to date, I've produced 46 short films involving teenagers,
Wow.
young youth. Yeah. And it's incredible because some of them, I mean, I'll tell you, I'm a filmmaker, and one of the first girls I mentored who didn't know what she wanted to do post-high school, she ended up becoming the editor of my music documentary, Melody Makers, a 92-minute documentary film. I hired her some 6-8 years later to edit my film. Some of the girls have gone on to journalism. Some of them are in photography. Some of them, I don't know what's happened to them, but I know that it had a huge impact on their lives. And I hope that they carried, some of that experience forward. So it's a beautiful thing, that they were there. And I mean, I remember one time there was a young girl in Toronto. We did the program in Toronto. We reached out to the Jarvis Institute for Indigenous Studies, and she had come all the way from Nunavut, way up north, and she called me, and it was a freezing cold day, and she hadn't shown up to edit her film because we teach them how to hold a camera, how to shoot,
Right.
they tell their story, they learn to edit. Anyway, she was locked. She was squatting in a building, and she got locked out. So I went and picked her up and drove her to the edit suite, and then I got her a place to stay. But so I'm proud of that program. And then since about 2014, I've been reaching out to sister film festivals abroad in Armenia, Turkey, Beirut. I was in Beirut in 2021, Porto, Chile, and I curate programs of films from North America, so Canadian and American films mostly, that go to their film festivals.
One thing that I can listen to you talk and wow, this is amazing. Leslie Ann Coles, founder of Female Eye Film Festival, is my guest on NexxLegacy Radio. You can go to www.femaleiefilmfestival.com. It's going down June 9th till the 12th. In the parentheses is come see what 20 years look like. And that's a beautiful thing, not just to hear you talk about journeys that some of these, directors, photographers, people that come to the festival that you've hired or taken on. I look at life like this as I'm getting older, Leslie, and I look at sometimes as much as we see on the surface, we still have no idea how expansive and how creative people can be based on not just your current film festival and getting to know it, but there's so many hidden gems out there that just needs a push up to be seen, to be heard, to be appreciated for the work they do. And as I'm spotlighting women today and tonight and always moving forward, there has to be more opportunities for our women journalists, our women directors, because there's a lot. And it's not just based on, pay or lack of pay or pay equality. I just think having the opportunity to put women in the forefront for these, very important jobs and jobs that, they can do just as good as men has to be celebrated more consistently, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's kind of why festivals dedicated to women around the world started up. I think they started because there was a lack of recognition for women in the industry. But I also think that there was a stereotype. And the stereotype was that if a woman writes and directs a film, it's a chick flick. It's a light, frothy, romantic comedy or something. And women make those films. Okay, we can make those films. But they also make action and cutting edge documentaries and really trippy enlightening dramas and comedies. And I mean, they don't, so we really worked hard, and even animated films that are just will blow your mind. That they work in this space, and just because they're women, it would be like me saying to you, I'm a male filmmaker. Oh, I made a film and it's for a male audience. Nobody ever says that. So why would they think that, that women make films just for a female audience? So in the early years of the festival, our tagline was, Flicks Not Just for Chicks. And then we worked hard on getting people to come to the festival that weren't just women. We didn't want it to be an all-women's club. And then our tagline changed. I guess 10 years ago, a marketing person asked me, what is it one thing you can say about the films that you show at the female eye, whether they're a short 2-minute film or a feature film? And I said, well, they're always honest, but they're not always pretty. That's what I told them.
Right.
And that stuck as our tagline. And I also think it speaks to women. It speaks to the nature of a woman. It's not always pretty. Like, that's just the way it rolls. So I thought it was a perfect tagline, and it's stuck ever since.
It's a beautiful thing, not just to hear, but also to witness, because I believe, again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about just as a man and from a male's perspective, I need to learn from a woman. I feel like I can't go forward or move forward unless I do get enough information from a woman's perspective so I can be able to go and put a stamp on certain things that I need to do in life or moving forward or whatnot. I think it's super important. I also think from Leslie, from you, when it comes to you founding this Female Eye Film Festival, when you look back 20 years, and I know the journey probably in the beginning, it's just like anybody that has a vision. Not everybody's going to automatically adapt to what you're seeing. But if you started off from one person to 5 person to 10 people to 20 people to 50 people to 100, what has been your source of strength when it comes to consistency? Because you know how it is. Some people want instant, I need 1 million people in order for this film festival to be successful, but it doesn't always start that way. So where has been your motivation, to start from the very beginning, and, how do you still continue to maintain that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. How do I maintain that? Well, I'm tenacious, so I have tremendous tenacity. And so even in the tough years, and there's still tough years, this was a tough year coming back from the pandemic. We, a lot of our sponsors have lost money, and they're not contributing as much as they used to. Talking to my board about doing a fundraiser. But I'm kind of in the field of dreams mindset. It's sort of like, well, we built it and the train has left the station and we are going. And I've kind of always had that spirit about things that I feel passionate about. It's sort of, I've learned a lot along the way about delegation and mentor a lot of students every year who come in and have to put in hours towards their graduation, who I mentor and supervise and work with, and they do a lot of heavy lifting as part of their internship. But I think the thing that keeps me going is something you were talking about. It's the work, it's the art, it's the film, it's the content. It's like the extraordinary talent. It's really that. It's like, wow. Amazing. So it's actually the work by the individuals that really, truly inspires me. I am back into my own work. So that's now a bit of a challenge for me right now, because I think during the pandemic I got back into screenwriting. I got funded for one of my films. I got one more day to shoot on that. I'm in it. I'm a writer, director. I'm also an actress. That's where I started. And then I have a couple of features I've written that I'm going to Banff with on June 12th, the closing day of our festival. I'm flying to Banff Media Festival to meet with people from around the world who are looking for content. So I'm still very much a creative, but I really have got to navigate the next little while carefully. And I'm looking at a succession plan, not because I'm retiring, but because I want younger people to come in and steer the female eye into the future. I will support them and stand by and be the artistic director. but I am looking at, I don't want the festival and the legacy of the female eye to just kind of fade away if I start putting, and I am putting myself back into my own work in a very big way. So I don't want the festival to suffer for it, and I also don't want to see it just kind of dwindle away. I want to see it continue.
Wow. You know what I love about you, Leslie? Leslie Ann Cole is my guest on NexxLegacy Radio, Female Eye Film Festival founder, always honest, not always pretty. June 9th to the 12th, it's going down. Make sure you go ahead and go to www.femaleiefilmfestival.com. One thing I love about you, Leslie, just off top, you and I just had dialogue. This is 18, 19 minutes now of just getting to know you. One thing I love about you is this. You have gave birth to a legacy 20 years ago that you refuse to let not just fade away. You are willing to pass the baton to other hungry artists or people who would like to be able to continue this process and growth, understanding, awareness, brand awareness, everything that comes with nurturing. And it's like that with a lot of businesses too. You may have an in and out situation, or you may love it, or you may get frustrated, but it's taken a life of its own to the point where you don't want to see anything happen but growth and helping other people grow. And I think that needs to be celebrated as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate your insight and your appreciation of all of this, and your appreciation of women. As I wish we had more female leaders in the world. If we did, we probably wouldn't be in the state we're in, to be perfectly honest, in my opinion.
Agreed. Agreed. Leslie, I have a 19-year-old daughter that I'm trying to basically just say exactly some of the things, and she would love to hear stuff like this coming from your perspective and your vision and how you want things to be. And also just, you have to step back and realize that sometimes when you build something, it's not really about you anymore. It's about everybody else and how we are supposed to share not our knowledge or our wealth, whatever that comes with it. But I think you should be commended for this. And, as you're navigating through and enlisting more people to be able to pass the baton, what is it that you see in others that you would like to hear? Come have a seat at the table, because I see your work ethic, things like that. So, how do you go about just kind of diagnosing just the vision of what others do and just being able to enhance them? Do you see their effort first, or, how do you go about it?
I see where I always try especially when I work with students and the interns, I always kind of take a lead from them. I may go in, have my own agenda that they're going to be administrative. They're going to work and they're going to send emails and they're going to correspond and they're going to let people know what's what and when it's happening and yada, yada. But what I do now and what I've learned over the years is to really pay attention to what are their interests. So now the first thing I'll ask them is, what do you think you might want to do in 2 years, 5 years? Like, what is the thing that interests you and excites you right now? And by asking them those questions, I'm not trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. I'm trying to build a space for them where they can actually learn and grow and really dig into that which they're already interested in. So that's kind of how I go. And then, like I had one intern last year from Humber College, which is a media arts. She was going into school to become a producer. She realized she didn't like set. She didn't really like being on set. So when she came to me, she said, I have to graduate. I need to do 40 hours, but I really like admin. I like Excel spreadsheets. I like organizing things. She likes all that stuff. And so I said, that's perfect, because I don't. I like curating film programs, and I like, I like talking to people and getting them to support the festival, So it was worked out perfectly. And she continued for the whole year. working with me part-time, and now she's on the ground running with me towards this event. And she's somebody, for example, that I would have in mind. And I should say, speaking of daughters, I have a daughter who worked with me for about 4 or 5 years on the festival, and now she works for Tesla. She's a young girl, but she got a job, and she gets paid. It's not altruistic, but she was amazing. Even though we worked totally differently, she was just amazing in business and business admin and all of that stuff. So I'm actually extending the olive branch to her, and not really an olive branch, but I've said to her recently, Rebecca, if you want to come back, and you want, because she always said, Mom, I'll come back if you leave, because she doesn't like working with her mother. So I'm going to go back to her, and she doesn't know this. Hopefully she's not listening right now, but I'm going to keep this recording once I get a link to it. And I'm going to ask her, say, listen, I'm ready to step back. Do you want to step back in? And I've got some great young people who will love to work with you. Anyway,
you know what? It's funny that what you just said about your vision and your brand is the same thing I told my daughter about the station too. Like, you have an idea, and she loves music, and she loves just journalism and things like that. And I told her, look, I can just be the founder one day. You can take over CEO and do what you do. It's fine.
Exactly.
It's okay. One thing that I love. Let me ask you this, Leslie, because I always feel like, especially for our young kids, because we both mentioned we have daughters, and there's so many impressionable young women out there who are either looking for instant success, or they're just trying to be a part of something but not really focusing on what they really want and need and need to learn and things like that as well. Right. So what would you say to these women who are actually out there? Because there's a lot out there, and we need to encourage and enhance and excite. So what do you say to those women?
I would say to them, hold on to your vision. What's beautiful about this time in our history is not just with all the technology, but you can build what you want. You can build what you envision. And don't let anyone tell you can't do it. And but you can't be complacent. You have to, if there's something you want to do, you have to put a little bit of effort into that every day, whether that's networking, picking up the phone call, making a cold call, if it's film related, getting on set, getting on set, familiarizing yourself with the craft. If you want to write. Take screenwriting courses part-time. You can do it in after-school education. If you're still in school, I just really believe, I was fortunate in that I had grade school teachers who really mentored me. Well, they didn't mentor me, but they saw that I had problems sitting still in class, and I loved to make up plays and perform. So I was that kid. They would let me go off and make up a play, and then I'd knock on all the classroom doors and perform for everybody. But my mother, God bless her, she's still around. She took heed of what the teacher said, that I was really entertaining but a huge distraction in the classroom. And so she put me into dance and theater and all kinds of things. She encouraged me in the art. She saw where I was at and what I needed, and how I looked at life and how I processed it was in a creative capacity. And she totally encouraged that all through my childhood. And I think that that informed me and gave me a sense that I could do this. If I wanted to do this, I could do this. Yeah. Wow. And I think we don't all have that. We don't always get that from someone, but I believe there's always someone for everybody who's that magical angel, that person who just sort of lands at the right time and comes into their lives, and you just have faith in that, because it will happen. You will find allies who will come and support and help you move forward always.
Unconditionally, Leslie. There's life and people are, filled with agendas. Everybody has something, but there is a lot of people out there that will support each other with unconditional support, passion, just everything that you would want in terms of positive action and interaction and reaction to whatever it is that you're trying to do. And we just need to create more awareness of that. I mean, there's so much negativity in the world, so much chaos in the world, that you can literally can turn away from that, and you can focus on, you know, what's inspiring instead of the opposite. Because you are a filmmaker, you've seen this before, that there's so many people who will look at a car wreck before they will look at a high school or college graduate nowadays. And it's crazy. So we got to change that narrative.
And I think we have to change that narrative. And I think the other thing is that we have a choice. Like, individually, we have choices. So find your tribe. Find the tribe, but find your cheerleading people. If you're surrounded by friends who are bringing you down, or they are, you know, trying to manipulate you or cajole you into getting involved in things that you're not, that in your heart is not there, you will find your tribe. You'll find other friends. Which sometimes is an expression where you say, you know, if you want to change your life, sometimes you have to change your friends. That's the way it is. If people aren't supporting you and encouraging you, and move on. You can't change them. You can only change yourself. You can only change what you have control of, right? And I think sometimes there's this idea about instant success because of social media. You know, I can't imagine growing up with that. Instagram, like, unplug your devices, you know, because all thought is energy. And if you're completely consumed by or obsessed with what other people are doing, and you feel like you can't live up, unplug, turn off the devices, focus on yourself. Don't feel, you know, like you even have to compare yourself to anyone, because you don't, because you're not them, you're you. But I think there's a lot of challenges that youth particularly face today, with standards of beauty, with standards of, you know, how do you measure success? Is it the number of followers you have on Instagram? I don't know. I have a lot of friends who have a lot of bots, you know, and that's cool. The metrics are good. The metrics are good, but, you know, I don't know. At the end of the day, you just have to be your best self and never give up on that, because it's a journey, and it takes a lifetime.
You are telling the truth. Let me tell you something real quick. Leslie Ann Coles is my guest on NexxLegacy, founder of Female Eye Film Festival. Make sure you go ahead and go to www.femaleeyefilmfestival.com. It's from the 9th to the 12th. Get all the details when you head over to that website. But Leslie, let me tell you this. Usually, I mean, because my radio station is internationally, it's obviously through like an app and all that good stuff. I go every day and outside and talk to people, not just tell them about the station, but why I'm doing what I'm doing. And it's not even for me. It's about, you know, showing and other people that there is other talented people, if it's in music or if it's in any other genre of development, right? So one thing that I do and have been steering clear of, yes, it's a nice tool to have when it comes to social media, but I'm not going to live, breathe, and die by it. I can use it to enhance certain things, but I'm not going to let that be the end-all, be-all. So if I'm performing for one person who wants to follow me or 100,000 people that wants to follow me, come on in. As long as you're picking up that same vibe that I get when it comes to doing something authentic, something that is a passion of mine, and something that I want to give back to. Because, like I said earlier, I think you're doing this, I'm doing this, and we need to have more like-minded people that is doing the exact same thing. I'm building this, but I'm not building it for myself anymore. It was a nice idea, but now this is for everybody to share in what's being developed, so you can have a place at the table as well.
Exactly. Amen to that. It's true. I mean, and that's the thing. I think, you know, I remember one of my first experiences going to New York with my film to an independent New York Film Festival. And I remember there being like 6 people in the audience, and I thought, oh my God, this is terrible. And this is awful, but the 6 people loved my film. And then that around that same time, or shortly thereafter, I was back in New York, and I got a call from the Academy. And my film, In the Refrigerator, did win a lot of awards. I won like 13 international awards. It was my first film for Best Actress, Best Debut Filmmaker, and yada, yada. But you know what happened? I got a half a page in the New York Magazine with a picture of me inside the refrigerator that I'm tap dancing in. I don't want to get into the details of the film, but it was a pretty interesting film and won tons of awards. I got invited by the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences to have my film screened for nomination for Best Short Live Action and the Academy Awards at the 73rd Academy Awards. I'll always remember the number. But what happened was my film blew over by 2 minutes and 37 seconds. So it has to be a 45-minute hard stop or 40 minutes. I can't remember. But anyway, the fact is that I remember feeling so dejected. There was no one in the audience. There was only 6 people in the audience. But I got a half page in the New York Magazine, and then I got a call from the Academy inviting my film to screen at the Laemmle in L.A. twice a day for the Oscars, for the Oscar jury. So it's interesting. Sometimes, something happens and we think it's so bad. It's just, if we stop judging things as good or bad, life is not black and white. Life is not good or bad. Life has all shades of gray, and there's all kinds of pleasant surprises along the way.
And Leslie, you could have had a packed house with hundreds of people there, but they might not have paid attention to it closely like the 6 people did that was in attendance, in a sense, right? So just because the house is full doesn't mean it's filled with nurturing people who are supportive, right? No, I was saying before that from you can have hundreds of people that pack the house, but if those 6 people really paid attention to, nurtured the project and just was super supportive, sometimes a full house doesn't equate to good vibes anyways, right? Like sometimes it doesn't matter if you're performing for 1 or 100,000. Yeah. You're still going to deliver that energy, but also, the support system is you're probably going to feel different in certain cases. So, the packed house isn't always a good house in some cases.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I think, I remember there was a man in the audience and he was weeping openly. I don't know. I think, if you can touch, there's another thing we're putting on our poster this year, which will be released hopefully today. And it's 20 years strong. And then the other piece is one film at a time. And it's sometimes one audience at a time. It's sometimes one person at a time. And that's life, isn't it? I agree with you.
That's right.
100%.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's amen to that. Amen to that.
Amen to
Leslie
that.
Ann Cole is my guest on NexxLegacy Radio. And in closing, I want to give you the floor. So I want you to go ahead and just basically give shout outs if need be, direct traffic to whatever social media platform and others if need be. You have the floor, my dear.
All right. So as you've been saying, www.femaleiefilmfestival.com. Our program is up. We're still adding a couple of things, industry panels and things. If you're in the GTA, Toronto, TDOT, definitely come by and check out some films. Not our hashtags, but our handles at Female Eye, so FEMALEEYE. That's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook for Female Eye Film Festival. And you can follow me. I'm Leslie Ann Coles. My handle is LA Coles, LA, and then COLES. And I write actually poetry and prose under Snow Girl Poet on Instagram. So I publish poetry and prose. And I'm going to be dropping something that I wrote in the car, I think about a week ago. It's pretty cool.
All right.
So I write quick stuff sometimes because screenwriting takes time, and screenwriting is rewriting. So, but you can find me and find us on social for sure.
20th anniversary. Come see what 20 years look like. FemaleEyeFilmFestival.com. Leslie Ann Cole is my guest. And final question, play a lot of music on the station or whatnot. So what's in Leslie's music playlist these days? What are you listening to?
Wow, that's a really good question. I have a really eclectic taste in music. I love, I love R&B. I love music from the 70s and the 80s. Oh my gosh, what am I listening to? I listen to some pretty obscure artists, to be honest with you, on CBC. So radio, I play it all the time, but I actually should create a new playlist. I tend to enjoy other people's playlists, but I love jazz. I love blues. I love R&B. I love some hip hop. I'm a pretty eclectic taste when it comes to art and music. So I wish I could be more defined in being able to answer that question, but yeah, I can't.
No, you're good. You're good, because you said 70s and 80s, and one of the best decades of music in terms of diversity and culture and everything was, in my opinion, the 80s, because I was all over the place, diverse in everything. Yeah. Rock, light rock, hard rock, hip hop, R&B, you name it.
Oh
the
my
80s
God,
had it. It was
a great
fun
time
for me.
For sure. I would love to hear your playlist. Definitely a great time in music, for sure.
Oh my God! From Wham, the Culture Club, to obviously Michael Jackson, to it was so Duran Duran, so many different 80s groups and things like that. It was so much fun, and I'm biased because I grew up in that era. And even the 70s was good, but I feel like the 70s set it up for the 80s. The 90s was a great decade as well. It was just so intertwined with how I lived and what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And everything else.
Isn't it
you know
true?
What I'm saying? It was
Isn't it true?
Yeah.
It felt like it had real meaning, and it connected. Like we connected to it. There was a connection between what we were living and what we were listening to, for sure.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, listen, Leslie Ann Coles, my dear, founder of Female Eye Film Festival, celebrating 20 years. We will continue to support you. We will promote you on our station through obviously through the 9th and the 12th, directing traffic to your website. But I want to not just thank you, but I appreciate you for being that strong. I don't want to just say woman supporter, a woman, strength that a woman gives. I feel like we need to appreciate that. I don't want to categorize it, but I just think you are an excellent soul, and I appreciate you for inspiring other women, but other men who need to appreciate and pay attention to our good women as well. So I appreciate you for all those things, and keep it up, because I'm watching you now. All eyes are on you, dear.
Okay, I'm gonna be watching you too. So thank you for having me on your show. It's been really great speaking with you. Thank you so much.